to do this.
Mass Effect, released in 2007, set the bar for what players expected from RPGs during the 360 era. It was entirely voice-acted, used a branching conversation system that allowed for different outcomes in each situation, and promised to have narrative ties that would last the entire trilogy. Pitched over dinner by Casey Hudson as a sci-fi RPG, he believed that it would become a mainstream phenomenon and a must-have game for the Xbox 360. Fast forward 14 years later, and we're on the precipice of seeing Mass Effect Legendary Edition release on modern-day consoles and PC to much fanfare, meaning I'd say the entire BioWare team delivered on that goal. We've been given early access to some footage that showcases dramatic updates to the original Mass Effect and a peek at how Mass Effect 2 and 3 will also be improved. But let's start with a closer look at the original, the one that needed the most care, to take a look at how it's been updated. Beginning with the combat sequence, we get our first look at the updated HUD, and yes, your weapons will still use a cooldown system and not thermal clips like in Mass Effect 2 and 3. In addition, the weapons use a different reticle, and there are no longer class-specific weapon restrictions that make certain guns unusable for certain classes. But let's talk about the textures for a second. Using AI upscaling, the new look of this garage scene on Noveria is night and day when compared to the 360. The specifics may appear subtle, but one I can point out in this scene is a much more natural, soft effect of the lighting. They're using ambient occlusion in the scene, which you can see more clearly on the boxes that emit shadows. Stepping away from combat for a moment, we also got a tour of the main hub in Noveria. This footage opens with an amazing look at the new female Shepard model as she exits the elevator. The character models looked a lot better in Mass Effect 3, and with the new character model feature, you can start Mass Effect 1 as that iconic female Shepard. The lighting and camera placement is changed here too, putting you a little bit closer to the characters as they move through the levels or down elevators. The Noveria port has been heavily reworked in Legendary Edition, and you see some small elements as you exit the elevator. Couches have cushions, and the textures on the walls and concrete floors have been reworked. In the main hallway, they've added light fixtures across the entire room and even removed large pieces of geometry that previously would break up your path. Here's what BioWare's Mac Walters had to say about why the wall was removed.
The wall and why the wall came down in Noveria, right? You'll see them probably more so throughout Mass Effect 1. They were really just meant for streaming occlusion, essentially sightlines, right? In large open spaces, which we had quite a few of in Mass Effect 1. Whatever the game has to render is going to start to hit your performance. So when you have a wall there, when you come off the elevator, it just means that you don't have to show the whole level and load the whole level and have everything on screen as soon as you get off the elevator. And so the art team wanted to try taking it out, and it worked great, and I think it looks awesome.
When you reach the garage with the Mako inside, you'll also notice an additional lighting in the room and objects that have been completely remodeled. Even on the Mako, there's texture and dirt on the tires, and it looks a lot more rugged and used. Looking at the provided Mako footage is really interesting to me because this is one of the key areas of the original that needed work. The original Mako was floaty, bouncy, and while I can't comment on how the Mako controls now, as I haven't played it yet, we did get to see two driving sections. The first is directly after you leave the Noveria port, and again the new textures on the ice-covered mountain are immediately visible, but if you watch the Mako drive, you might notice some changes, like a boost feature. Here's BioWare producer Renata Cronin on how the Mako changed.
It is so much better now. We've made it better in that it handles better, it targets better. You know, we changed up the reticle when you're shooting with the Mako now so that it actually hits where you're aiming, which is very awesome, because it didn't used to do that before. You know, we've added boosters to it as well. We're still in the process of sort of tweaking it a little bit, so this clip right here is not necessarily representative of the end product, but it's got all the major improvements that we wanted. Now we're just playing around with, you know, how weighty does it feel, because it's still a little bit floaty, as you can see, but now it feels more, you know, like you're driving a tank and not, you know, the car that floats for some reason.
Later, we also got a peek at a Thresher Maw fight on Antibar that shows another gameplay addition. Yes, the Thresher Maw still moves around, but now with a trail so you have a clearer picture of where they're headed with each movement. That should result in fewer instant deaths. There's also a new sensory tentacle phase to the encounter, where you need to avoid the maw and the tentacles as you battle. At the finale, you can notice the plumes of smoke have a lot more body to them also. I'm a little more hopeful about the Mako after seeing this footage. All of this is on top of massively decreased loading times provided by hardware advances like faster hard drives. This is a side-by-side shot of the original and Legendary Edition. As you can see, you can choose to instantly be at your destination, while in the original, you would be waiting for a significant period of time. And two smaller but important systems we gotta look at were the inventory system and character creator. So the inventory system has been reworked, and it seems you can more easily sort, dismantle, and compare your gear for you and your squad mates. This also applies to the store, which looks to give you different view options depending on what you're looking to buy and sell. The character creator, which allows you to create a character before you begin playing any of the games in the trilogy, is also drastically updated. The original benefits the most from this, and I've gone back to see how close I can get the 2007 character models to the new models, but the options just aren't comparable. There are more hairstyles, more makeup options, more skin tone options, and you're really allowed to go all out.
Why is it that whenever someone says, "with all due respect," they really mean kiss my ass?
I apologize, but prayers for the wicked must not be forsaken.
After time adrift among open stars, along tides of light and through shoals of dust, I will return to where I began.
You humans have a saying, an eye for an eye, a life for a life. He owes me 10 lives, and I plan to collect.
I've got all the secrets of the galaxy at my fingertips. Give me 10 minutes and I could start a war.